you. Unbelievable. All over this happens. If it's okay, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the victims of the Paris attacks, please. Thank you very much. Terrible. Terrible. What's going on is terrible. And when you look at what happened in that case, it was just reported, one from Syria. Our president wants to take in 250,000 from Syria. I mean, think of it, 250,000 people. And we all have heart, and we all want people taken care of and all of that. But with the problems our country has, to take in 250,000 people, some of whom are going to have problems, big problems, is just insane. We have to be insane. Terrible. And when you look at Paris, you know, the toughest gun laws in the world, Paris. Nobody had guns but the bad guys. Nobody. Nobody had guns. And they were just shooting them one by one. And then they broke in and had a big shootout and ultimately killed the terrorists. And I'll tell you what, you can say what you want, but if they had guns, if our people had guns, if they were allowed to carry, it would have been a much, much different situation. I hear it all the time. You know, you look at certain cities that have the highest violence, the highest problem with guns and shootings and killings. Chicago, as an example, toughest gun laws in the United States. Nothing but problems. So our country better get smart, because we're not smart right now. And I don't know if you noticed, but for 2 years I've been saying, bomb the oil fields, right? Because that's the source of their wealth. That's the source of their wealth. For 2 years we've been saying it, bomb the oil fields. And it's such a disgrace. So yesterday they started. Everyone would say, oh, that's a terrible thing that Trump said. He's so harsh. I always say, Jeb Bush would say, my tone, my tone. It's unbelievable. The other day I made a speech. The people in Iowa, they loved the speech. They loved it. And I talked about the deficiencies of some of the candidates. And the newspapers say, oh, it was ranting, raving. I don't rant and rave. He was so horrible in terms of what he said about, I said the truth. I didn't say anything. In one case, I said what that particular person wrote about himself. It's true. It's true. And they said he was so harsh. It was a terrible thing he said. I said what he wrote about himself. It's incredible how dishonest the press is. It's incredible. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I wanted to, we're going to be talking about the wall, because we're going to build a wall. It's going to be a big wall. And it's got to look beautiful, because someday they'll probably end up naming it the Trump Wall. It's got to look beautiful. And people will come through the openings in that wall, and we'll have a few of them, and they'll come in, and they're going to come in legally into our country, and that's what we want. And people that are here illegally are going to have to go, and you know what? Someday they'll come back, and they'll come back through the legal process, and that's what we all want. And I just want to say, because I'm going to bring some very, very special people on stage, but I just want to say that when I announced that I was going to run for president, I made some statements that were very strong, but very true. Very true. I talked about illegal immigration, and I took a lot of heat that first 2 weeks, and then people found out I was right. And I will tell you, it's become a very big subject in this country. It's costing us $250 billion a year. Nobody knows that. Nobody talks about that. We'll talk about China. We'll talk about trade. We'll talk about a lot of things later. But it's costing us at least $250 billion a year. Tremendous problems, tremendous crime, and nobody disputes it. When I said it, they all said, oh, that's terrible. Tremendous crime. And you know what? We're going to straighten it out, and we're going to have a country again. We're going to have a country again. And we want you not to do, and these people are walking right through, and they're standing down. They're holding their weapons. They're holding everything. They're amazing men and women. Stand down. People walk right into the country. And you know, in other countries, you can't do that. By the way, in Mexico, and I love Mexico. It's a great place. They have strong leaders. They have smart leaders. They have smart people. If you want to become a citizen of Mexico, it's the hardest country in the world just about to become a citizen of. But over here, come on in, folks. We're a bunch of dopes. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. You know the whole thing about the anchor babies. You have a woman, she's pregnant, walks onto the United States, has the baby. We take care of the baby for the next 85 years. So, not going to happen. And I was right about it. 14th Amendment doesn't say that. You walk in illegally, you have a baby, the baby doesn't stay. And they said, oh, you need a whole new constitutional amendment. It would take years and years and could never be gotten. You don't need that. You know that. I turned out to be right. The great legal scholars have said he's right. So you don't need it. But before we go further, I just met these people backstage, and they've been very nice to me because I've been very nice to them, because I've been saying what's been going on. And there are many others that I've met. This is a few. The Remembrance Project, where people's loved ones were killed by illegal immigrants, people that were here, violently killed. One of the men, I became sort of a friend of his, Jamil. He had a son, young football player, good. He was applying to Stanford. He was a quarterback. Great kid, never had a problem in his life. A great young man. And he went to the deli, and he came back home, and he was violently shot in the head many times. And his father heard the shots outside. One of the saddest stories. And he told the story. I was talking to my boy, and my boy said, I'll be home in 5 minutes, Pop. I've got you a sandwich from the deli. And he's walking home, and the father, Jamil Shaw, the father heard shots right outside. And it was a guy shooting his son in the head. And then his son laying on the ground is like this. And he shot him through the hand with the .45, which has obliterated his hands, everything. Killed instantly. And the father lay down on the sidewalk, couldn't believe what happened. Couldn't believe it, said this couldn't happen. And he's just a great guy, and he's not here today, but other people are. And I'd just like to bring them, the Remembrance Project. These are amazing people. Come on up stage, folks. Veteran. but we can't have this anymore. We just can't have a country like this where it's being run like the way it's being run. So, come on over. Say about your boy and what happened. Real.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. My name is Laura Wilkerson. My son Joshua was 18. He was asked for a ride home by someone we found out later was illegal. He beat him in the head with a closet rod. He strangled him, let him go, strangled him, let him go. He kicked him in the stomach so hard that it sliced his spleen in two. And after he finally murdered him, he tied him up like an animal, threw him in a field, and set him on fire. It's something you don't want to live through. The list is on and on. Thank you, Mr. Trump, for bringing it out, and the media is finally picking up on it. It happens every single day. It happens every day. I want to say just one thing. Don't forget Brandon Mendoza, Dominic Durden, and Drew Rosenberg. They're not here today, but there's a long list of names. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Ruiz, and my husband Lou and I, this is our daughter Felicia. She was murdered by an illegal alien in '99. She was ambushed, beaten, her throat was cut, and she was stabbed over 39 times. And we have been 16 years trying to catch her fugitive, and he's hiding in Venezuela. We know that much. And they refuse to let us have him. They know he's wanted for murder in the United States, and we just hope that someday the U.S. Marshals will be able to bring him out. Marshal Cameron Welch is the marshal on our daughter's case, and if, we just want justice for our daughter, so I'm a little nervous up here. But please, we need to elect someone like Mr. Trump for president so he can stop all this, please.
So I just realized as I was listening that, so in Venezuela, I'm going to do just fine with Venezuela, believe me. If I win, we will get him out fast, believe me.
Hi, my name is Rhonda West. My son is Kendrick Owens. He was killed March 6, 2010 by an illegal immigrant drunk driver while he was walking down the road with his best friend. I want to thank you, Mr. Trump, for everything you're doing, and you're our only hope. We love you. We love you. Thank you.
My name is Debbie. My brother David was killed in March by a drunk illegal immigrant. It was a hit and run. The accident severed his legs, and the body was lodged in the windshield. The driver dumped the body in an apartment parking lot and then drove away and tried to run from the police. They did catch him, and we did have a trial, but he's serving 10 years probation.
My name is Dan Govach. I'm the father of Spencer Govach. This is my son. He was 25 years old. January 31st this year, he was sitting at a red light in the neighborhood that I grew up in. An illegal alien from Mexico that had been deported 4 times, had a rap sheet that included felonies, assaults, and burglaries, and had been in our federal prison system for 5.5 years. Pulled up to a red light, randomly picked my son out, blew his brains out, went on and shot 4 more people. Listen, this is the result of politically correct politics. They have no problem sacrificing your loved one, your child, for the advancement of their own little agenda, but they will PC you into the ground. And I want to thank Mr. Trump for standing up and saying the things that need to be said that no one else is saying.
You don't see that. You don't read about it in the papers. You don't read about it. You don't see it. It's just unbelievable. And I see it all the time wherever I go because I'm the only one that talks about it. It's like devastating. It's so hard to watch. It's devastating. And you can imagine, for no reason. And there's so many more. I mean, I have met so many families, become friends with some of them. And you just say, how can it happen? This sanctuary city stuff is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that we can allow it to happen in this country. Is unbelievable. You look at San Francisco with Kate, same thing, shot in the back. And 5 times they threw this guy out of Mexico. In my opinion, they threw him out of Mexico because they didn't want him in Mexico. They say, hey, the U.S. doesn't know what it's doing. We'll send him over there. So the fifth, well, or do something very strong to him in this case because, you know, Kate's Law. Kate's Law is a good thing. They can't even get it passed. They probably won't get it passed. And it's a tough thing. I see so much of it. I see so much of it because wherever I go, I want to meet the people. And they're devastated. Their lives are ruined. I mean, hopefully not, but you see. I mean, it would be easy to say, oh, it's going to be fine with time. It's not. One of the parents said to me, it was 10 years. And one of the parents said to me, it's worse now than it was 10 years ago. So, you know, the time thing that we all say, we always like to say, I don't think it really works. But it's something that we're going to do something about, that if I win, believe me, we're going to do something about it. We're going to do something about it. All right, let's talk about a little more pleasant situation because we have so much negative news. You know, I wrote the new book, right? Crippled America. And I picked the worst possible picture of myself. It was terrible. But what are you going to say? It's crippled America. And it is. We have a president. He just came out. You saw what he said. He made a little statement. I want to say it exactly as he said it because, you know what? I have such a good memory, I don't need it. But he said, we have ISIL. You ever notice he always says ISIL? I've always said ISIS. I don't know. I like it. I don't know what. But he always says ISIL. I think he does that to maybe, who knows, maybe. Why does he do that? He's one of the few. I say ISIS. Everyone seems to say ISIS. He says ISIL. But he said, we have ISIL contained. Now, this was yesterday, a few hours before the attack, where you had plenty of Americans involved in that, too, in terms of being involved on the injury side and worse than that. But we have ISIL contained. We have leadership that doesn't know what they're doing, folks. We have leadership that doesn't know what they're doing. And we have to change. We have to go back. We have to go back to where we used to be years ago when we were strong and powerful and people respected us. And when you had a Sergeant Bergdahl who's a traitor, he was shot for being a traitor. He's going to get nothing. And we trade Sergeant Bergdahl for 5 of the biggest killers that they want right now back on the battlefields. They're back on the battlefields. We have to go back. You have to go back in time a little bit. You know, some people would say, oh, you're going in the wrong direction. And one of the folks mentioned the words politically correct. It's true. It's true. You know that in terms of Remembrance Fund, when I was with a group about 2 months ago, when they heard that one of their sons was shot and killed instantaneously, the police, who I love, the police are the greatest. I'm with the police so much. Their power's been taken away, and that's why you have the problems in so many of the inner cities and so many of the other places. They can stop it, but their power's been so taken away. They don't want to lose their jobs. They're afraid they can't even talk to people anymore. Can't even talk to people. But I was with them, and they said to me, everybody was so great. They were helping me. And when they found out it was an illegal immigrant, everything stopped. They didn't want to get involved in solving the crime. Once they found out who it was, and they couldn't, and to this day they can't get people involved in going. In other words, it's different. If you shot somebody, or if you shot something, they go, they give you, it's tough. But they found out it was an illegal immigrant. And the man, and I then did research. And it's so tough. The system is so tough and so against law enforcement that when they find out situations like the people that just came up, when they find out about it, they don't pursue that like they would a regular situation with an American citizen doing the shooting or doing the killing. And nobody knows why. I think I know why. I think probably because the process is so horrendous that they can't. Maybe they're afraid to get involved because they want to keep their jobs. Who knows? But it's very, very sad. So we're doing really well, amazingly well. The Reuters poll yesterday came out. You saw that. That was great. Trump at 34%. Great. Carson at 19%. Rubio at 9%. And Cruz at 7%. He's been very nice to me, by the way, Ted Cruz. He has been. In Florida, Trump 37%. How good is that? I mean, think of that. Rubio 16%. He's the sitting senator. So I'm at 37. He's at 16. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That one just came out. Here's what you're going to like the best. Trump is leading in Texas. Does that sound good? That's what I like. You know what I also like? In one of the national polls, best in foreign policy. They have me down in foreign policy as best. Okay. So I wrote a book, The America We Deserve. And in the book, it came out in 2000. I talk about a terrorist named Osama bin Laden. Now, this is before the World Trade Center came down by a couple of years. Somebody said like 18 months. But I talk about Osama bin Laden in the book. And one of the big moderators on one of the morning shows heard about this, said, let me see that book. When was it written? 2000. Well, wait a minute. Trump was talking about Osama bin Laden in 2000. That was before the World Trade Center came down. He took it down. It was his people. Wow. And the guy goes, wow, that's amazing. I'm really pretty good at this stuff. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. You know, another thing just happened, and that's the oil. You know the way I've been saying, go after the oil, go after the oil. And everyone's saying, you can't do that. You're going to hurt the infrastructure of the oil. Hey, we're in Texas. I've seen what those companies and your companies can do in about 12 minutes. They'll rebuild that infrastructure so fast with you folks building it. It's incredible. So fast. They'll build it so fast and so good. Just bomb the hell out of it. And so everyone said no. Because, you know, I was seeing where they get most of their money. ISIS. They get most of their money from oil. Some in Iraq, some in Syria. Some say, oh, you can't bomb Iraq. That's a sovereign nation. Do me a favor, bomb them. It's sovereign nation. Sovereign nation, you know what that is? Sovereign nation. Sovereign crooked nation. They were supposed to take everyone in. They didn't take everyone in. They wanted to run it all themselves. That's what happened. That's how ISIS formed. Okay? That's what happened. And ISIS turned out to be a lot tougher than they are. So they have oil, and that's where they get most of their money. They also get it from banking sources, and boy, am I good at banking. I would come down on those sources. Oh. There's never been a presidential candidate that knows banking like Trump, believe me. Believe me. They get a lot of money from banking, a lot of money through different channels of banking. And you can say, believe me, that problem can be solved quickly. But I said, bomb the oil, take away. And for 2 years, how long have I've been saying it for 2 years? It's almost like I stopped saying it because everyone was saying to me, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Why? They didn't know why, but they just said you can't do it. So yesterday, they started bombing the hell out of the oil. And I said to myself, I wonder if I'm going to get any credit for that. And actually, a number of people called. Jake Tapper was one from CNN, sort of saying, wow, they did what you said they should do. And I had 3 or 4 big anchors call, said, wow. I said, tell me, are you going to say it on the air or are you just saying it to me? You know, they say it to me because I get good ratings. They want me to go on their show. I said, say it on the air. Don't tell me. So they're doing, but I actually took it a step further, if you remember. I said, take the oil. Don't bother. Take the oil. Take it. And I said, take the oil, so much money. Take the oil. Don't leave. We should have never gone to Iraq. I said that right from the beginning. It's all called vision. You know, people say, Trump has a very tough tone. He has a very tough temperament. We need a tough temperament now, folks. We need. We don't need a pathological temperament. We need a tough temperament. We have to have it. But I'll tell you, we need a tough temperament. But if you remember, and in 2003, 2004, I said, you're doing a mistake with Iraq. There'll be nobody tougher with military than me. Believe me, nobody up on that stage. Nobody. And Hillary Clinton is a total disaster, by the way. She's a disaster. She is a disaster. But you have to know when to use your military. So just like I wrote about Osama bin Laden and all these people are saying, I can't believe it. Trump, and you know the reason I wrote about it? Because there was so much talk about him. He was a bad guy, you know. And people were writing about him. And he said, he's coming into the United States. He's going to do some real bad damage. That's what he said. So I said, knock the hell out of him before he comes in. Then he came in, he knocked down the World Trade Center, you know. They could have done a job on that, but they didn't. But you have to know. I don't even know if he's a friendly guy or not, probably. But you know what? I'll tell you. So you have to know what to do. You have to know when to do it. It's usually friendly. The friendly ones I like to be nice to. The unfriendly ones we have to be a little bit tough with, like being. So you have to know when to use it. You have to know when. And the cheapest thing we can do is to build up our military and make it strong again. Because we'll never have to use it. We'll never have to use it. Right now, we're depleted. We're depleted. We've been fighting politically correct wars. Everything's politically correct. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. How about this? We have to be unpredictable, right? And I say that all the time. Somebody said the other day in one of the newspaper articles, Trump's unpredictable. That's a great compliment. You know, I tell the story. Recently, there was a story about me on a business deal, and I won. I really beat the hell out of these people, which was fine. They weren't very nice. But they interviewed the people a while ago, and they said, what do you think of Donald Trump? They said, he's so totally unpredictable. And I beat them because of unpredictability. Now, sometimes you want to be unpredictable for your own reasons, and it's purposely unpredictable. Not like you don't know what you're doing, but you got to be a little bit unpredictable in life. And they said he beat us because we couldn't figure him out. He's a good poker player. We couldn't figure him out. So here's the problem. President Obama announces last week, we are going to send 50 troops, our finest, into Syria and into Iraq. We are going to send them. They'll leave tomorrow around 8:15. They'll be arriving, they'll be landing at a certain airport in about 14 hours. And they should be getting off the plane. So if you want to set up your military and your everything to try, they have a target on their heads. These 50 people have a target on their heads. So now all over Syria and Iraq, they're looking for these 50 guys. These are the top guys. These are the top people that we have. Why does he have to say that? First of all, it sounds bad to say 50, because 50 sounds like 50. So he didn't even get good publicity. It's sort of like either you do it or you don't do it, right? But these are 50 of our absolute finest. Why does he have to say that we're sending them? Why couldn't he just send them? And they go there quietly, and they do their job, and there aren't people looking because nobody knows they're there. He is so bad. He is so damn bad. It's like we shouldn't have been in Iraq, and I should get points for vision because I'm the only one on the stage Now, I'm not a politician, thank goodness, although now I am. But I said, don't be there. That was a long time. Reuters, long time ago. They sent a delegation to the White House because I was getting so much publicity on it to try and convince me. I said, but the problem is you're going to destabilize the Middle East. You have Iran and Iraq that are the same in terms of strength. And they fight all the time. These people fight. That's what they want to do. They want to fight. What the hell are we doing? They fight. Iran goes this way. 4 years later, Iraq pushed them this way. Bing, bong, back, forth, for decades. I said, if you knock out one of those elements, including Iran, but if you knock out one of those elements, the other one's going to just take over. What are you doing? They're not poker players. They're not chess players. They're not anything. Honestly, they're politicians that don't know what they're doing. That's what they are. So I said, don't go in. And I was right about it. They said weapons of mass destruction, they didn't exist. And Saddam Hussein talked about weapons of mass destruction. And he boasted. You know why? Because he wanted to scare Iran. It made sense. He didn't want to say. So I couldn't understand because he overplayed his cards, right? They end up finding him in a pipe. He came a long way from the castles to a pipe with dirt all over his face. And he's a bad guy. But, they end up, and I figured out why. He's always fighting with Iran, and he wanted Iran to think that he had weapons of mass destruction. So they would be scared, and they wouldn't go all the way, et cetera, et cetera. Makes sense. So he couldn't, that's why he overplayed his hand. He couldn't not say that. And then we ended up making a big mistake. And we've totally destroyed the Middle East. And then come Barack Obama and Hillary. And what happened there is now we're in, and he announces another time, just like he did with the 50 so, he announces when we're leaving. We're going to leave. He got creamed all over the place, just creamed. I mean, they beat him all the time. We don't win wars anymore. We don't win anything anymore. Do we win wars anymore? I remember when I was young, we never lost a war, right? Since then, we lose every time. We can't beat ISIS. We can't beat anybody. We can't make... I will, believe me. Believe me. And it'll be fast. It won't be long. It'll be fast because I want to get around to rebuilding our country. Believe me. I will. So you look at what happens with Obama. He announces that this is the same thing as with the 50 men. 50 men will be going in. This is the same thing. We will be leaving Iraq on October 31st at 3:30 in the afternoon. So what happens is the enemy says, oh, wow, they're leaving. They're leaving. That's great. Let's pull back. What the hell do we have to get shot? You read about all the stories that they want to get killed. They don't want to get killed. They don't want to get killed. And their families, they don't want their families killed, folks. Remember that. They don't want their families killed. But they don't want to get killed. So they pull back. Obama leaves. Now we've spent in Iraq $2 trillion, thousands of lives, wounded warriors all over the place who I love, and we're going to take care of because they're not being taken care of. So Obama made a mistake. See, he's totally predictable. He's totally predictable. We're gonna send the 50. We're gonna take them out here. Now, if he would have said, "We're never taking them out. We're gonna build up. Even if he didn't do it," and I know the press is gonna say, "Well, Mr. Trump would tell a fib. He would tell a fib." I don't tell a fib. Why would they ever say that we're taking the people out when they took them out? So now the enemy would say, if it were me, I would say, we're not going anywhere, fellas. You're going to suffer for the rest of your lives and your children, your grandchildren, everybody. And they're going to say, oh, man, this guy's frickin' crazy. We give up. We give up. So Obama told them when we're leaving, left, and then they go in, and it's a mess now. And as sure as you're standing there, you know the fact. I mean, you see the same papers and same stories that I'm seeing. But Iran is taking over Iraq. ISIS is taking much of the oil, which finally we're bombing. Okay, we should have kept it, but finally we're bombing. We only did half because mine was to keep. Mine was to bomb it and keep it. Okay, now we're bombing it, and somebody else is going to get it. All right, so sad, so pathetic. And you know what I wanted to do with the proceeds of that oil? I wanted to give a lot of it to the families that suffered and lost lives and lost their sons and daughters in Iraq. I wanted to give a lot of it. And by the way, if you gave each family $1 million or $2 million, that's peanuts. You'd have so much money left over. Give them more than that. But you could give them a lot of money because they suffered. And what do we have for it? What do we have for it? So I was going to give, and this was another thing. People said, oh, well, you can't do that. Of course you can. You can do anything. You can do whatever you want to do. You can do anything. You can do anything. And I wanted to give that money, a lot of it, to the families that lost sons and daughters and to the wounded warriors who don't have arms and legs, and they're braver than all of us put together. Wanted to do it. So anyway, so just to finish off, so the polls. So they said best in the military and foreign policy. That was a great honor for me, because a lot of people think that I'll be the best in jobs by far. I will be the greatest that God ever created, believe me. I'll be good. And they have me best in the economy, not like by 1 point, by like 50 points. On one of them, I think I was at 72 and number 2 was at 9. That's a big difference. And they have me by far best in leadership. So I said, look, if I'm best on military and foreign policy, if I'm best on leadership, if I'm best on the economy, what are we having an election for? Let's go. Right? You know, a couple of things about the campaign. The one thing they did say, I'm not as nice a person as some of the other people. And I told a woman, and I actually am a nice person, but I told a woman who said that. She said to me, Mr. Trump, I'm voting for you. I love you, but are you nice enough to be president? I said, let me tell you something, ma'am. I'm glad you're voting for me, and I am a nice person. Believe it or not, I'm a nice person. And I have a lot of good relationships. But I will tell you, especially with the people, you know, we have a good relationship. But I will tell you this. I really believe it doesn't matter, because I think this is going to be an election based on competence. We need somebody competent. Really competent. And I'm really competent. And we need people that are, like Carl Icahn endorsed me, the great businessman. He's worth a fortune. He's a great negotiator, one of the great negotiators. Other people are endorsing me, the biggest businessmen. Some of them are endorsing me, don't even like me. But they know I'm really smart. I do what I do. I built this incredible company. Remember when I filed the papers, everyone said, oh, he'll never run because maybe his company's not as big. Well, it turned out to be much bigger, much better, much stronger. They can't believe it. You never heard anything about it since I filed. They were down there, hundreds of them, looking over the papers. Oh, my God, he's really much bigger than we ever thought. He built an unbelievable company. They were down there. They say more people were down looking at those papers. Almost 100 pages of financials. An incredible company, very low debt, tremendous cash flow. The press was devastated. Right, fellas? Were you devastated? They were down. They were devastated. And I tell you that not to brag about my company, because it's a private company. Nobody knows what I have. It's a private company. It's beautiful. That was really a big opening for me. I mean, for me to run for president, it's not an easy thing. All my life I've heard, if you're a very successful person, you can't run for president. I understand what it means, because they lie, and they cheat, and they're dishonest. You know, many of them. Many of them. I had a story recently where I went up in the polls. I'm leading by a lot, and the story was, when will Trump leave the race? Like, one of the commentators in the morning, good guy, Joe Scarborough, he always jokes, well, Trump went up in the polls. That means I guess he's leaving in the race. He's leaving. Let me tell you, I'm not leaving, folks, ever. I'm not leaving. Ever. I'm not leaving. We're going to win. We're going to win. I think we're going to win. But you know, these pundits who are worthless, you know, George Will, the guys, I mean, these guys they're worthless. They said, he will never run. He's got the personality of that piece of concrete. He goes, he will not run. He will not run. Then I announce I'm running. He will not file his paper. He will not file Form A. Form A is the first filing where you sign your life away. Then I file Form A. He goes, oh, well, he will not file his financials. And if he does, they will never be filed on time. Because he's probably not as rich as people think. So I was one of the only ones that filed ahead of schedule. In fact, I have to be honest, my financials are so good that I hadn't really decided on running, because it does take guts, I have to be honest. Not the kind of guts those people had who I just brought up here. Not the kind of guts the wounded warriors have and the vets have. I tell you what, I don't have that guts. Those are real guts. But it takes guts to run. It takes guts to run. But then he said, he won't file. So they turned out to be good. The only reason I talk about how good my company is because that's the kind of mentality we need running the country. That's it. That's the only reason. And I was actually, you know, they were all saying he'll never file his financials because who knows. You know, they had no idea. I was going to file them even if I didn't run. I was seriously thinking about not running, too. You know what I did? You know the famous scene of my coming down the escalator with my wife, Melania, who looked very beautiful coming down the escalator. We have to see. You will have one beautiful first lady, that I can tell you. And she's got a great heart, and she is really smart. But she's got a great heart. But she's coming down, and she's a very calm person. And she's waving beautifully like this. Remember, very famous scene now. They play it all the time, coming down the escalator. I think they play it because she's in the picture, not because I'm waving and she's just going like this. But if you remember that famous thing, well, just before then, I said, I wonder if I'm going to do this. I mean, I'm standing up top. The press is all over the place. The place was surrounded. They will tell you. I've never seen it. It was like the Academy Awards. And I did this. I said, because I tell you, I went, let's go. I took a deep breath. I came down in the escalator, and here we are. Who would have known this was going to happen? Who would have known this was going to happen? You know. And a lot of things have happened since, and a lot of great things have happened since, because, you know, I had no idea that I'd do as well as we've done thus far. Now the big thing, these same characters that, you know, that said I wasn't going to run, now they're saying, well, it's only a question of time before he gets out. Why? Why would I get out? I was interviewed by Chuck Todd of Meet the Press. He's a nice guy. And he asked me the question. It just came out where I was leading substantially. And he said, will you get out of the race? And I said to myself, has that question ever been asked to a person that just took the lead? You know, it's such a negative question, isn't it? And I made a mistake. I said, this is a couple of months ago. We've recovered from that mistake. But I made a mistake. I said, here's the story, Chuck. I'm leading now. I have the biggest crowds, the biggest everything. If for some reason I went down in the polls, because I believe in polls. I think, you know, they're a reflection of what's happening. If for some reason I went down in the polls and people didn't want to see me anymore, so you'd have 100 people show up when you used to have 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 like today, or you wouldn't do well. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a masochist. I think probably I'd go out. And that was a killer answer. You know why? Next day, Trump may leave the race. No, it was, right? Trump, I said, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I remember Rand Paul, who's at like 1. No. They asked him the question. Are you going to leave the race? Now, you know he's going to leave the race. Going to have to leave the race. But they asked, and I'm not knocking him, but it's political speak versus somebody that was never a politician before. I'm giving all the reasons for which I'd leave. But I'm doing better than I've ever done. And the question shouldn't have been asked. But I give all the reasons. And actually, my wife said, that was a really nice answer. It was such an honest answer. I said, good, I think so. I got killed. Okay. So what happened? They asked Rand Paul. He's at 1 or 2. He's leaving, folks. He's leaving. He's got to leave. Otherwise, he's not going to be senator from Kentucky. So they said, will you consider leaving the race? Absolutely not. I will not leave the race. There was no story. They asked a couple of other guys. They're at 0. Are you going to leave the race? No, you know it's good. They're at 0 and they have no money. Other than that, they're doing very well. Right? No, they're at 0. I saw it the other day. They asked Lindsey Graham. He's in 2 in South Carolina. I'm at 38. He's the sitting senator. No, think of it. They said, Senator Graham, are you going to leave the race? Absolutely not. I will not leave the race. And I said, that's a politician. I'm not blaming Graham. I'm not blaming Rand Paul. But there was no story. I gave an honest answer, and I end up, I will not ever leave this race, okay? Ever! I'm not leaving it. And you know what? And I'm still number 1 by a lot, so that's the reason I'm not leaving. So anyway, just a couple of things. I'm going to talk to you about a few things, and I know it's a crazy day, and with the tragedy yesterday, that was some horrible thing. I mean, people see that, and they just, it's so terrible to watch. But I love this group of people. I love this area. I know this area. I have friends here. These are amazing. These are the people. You built the country, folks. You built the country. You've done an amazing job. But just so you know, because there's been a lot of talk lately about stances on different things, without me, there wouldn't be any talk of walls. There wouldn't be any talk of immigration, illegal immigration. Those folks would not have a voice at all. They've been treated horribly. They've been treated so badly, probably worse than anybody. I mean, you see that. And because of me, and I'm very proud of it, immigration is one of the top couple of subjects, maybe the top. In a lot of people's minds, it's a top subject. And when you get to Texas, it's got to be a real subject, because you're the ones that are really... I mean, I had such a crowd in Phoenix, Arizona. They get the brunt of it. You get the brunt of it. Some people don't know it as much. But when you go to New Hampshire, you know, they have a tremendous heroin problem in New Hampshire. Tremendous. Beyond anything that you can believe. And it comes over the border. So they're all affected. Everybody's affected. When you look at the gangs in Los Angeles, a lot of those gangs are illegal immigrants. These are tough dudes. By the way, they will be out of there so fast. They will be out of there so fast. They'll be out before I start the wall. I'll be starting that wall fast. By the way, they will be out of there so fast. We have some of these tough gangs, and they're all illegal immigrants. And those guys and we're not going to put them in our jails. I know a lot of people would say, we're going to put them back. We're bringing them back to the country they came for. Let them use their jails, okay? Let them use their jails. Our jails are brimming right now with people that shouldn't be in our prison system. They'll be in there for years and years and years, and we'll be paying for them. Not going to happen, folks. We're bringing them back where they came. And when a specific country sends them over to the United States, because we have among the dumbest people in the world leading us, and we accept their people, okay? When they send them, they're not coming through. Not with me. They're not coming through. They're not coming through. So, in 1954, General Eisenhower, you've been reading about this. You know, nobody even knew about it until I brought it up. Is that look at a handsome beard. Look at the beard on that guy. I do that, but I probably couldn't get voted. I don't know. But it looks good. But in 1954, General Eisenhower, I like Ike. Everybody liked Ike, even though he was a general. Everybody liked him but General MacArthur. You know why? Because General MacArthur was a very special guy. Tough, a genius, the highest marks in the history of West Point. General Douglas MacArthur. Good, right? And General MacArthur couldn't stand taking orders from anybody because he felt he was superior to everybody. And Ike was a less than average student at West Point. And MacArthur couldn't understand it. Do you know, to this day, General Douglas MacArthur had the highest marks in the history of West Point. Pretty good. You know, I'm into the academic thing, to be honest with you. It means something, right? And he couldn't stand it. But we have MacArthurs, and we have General George Patton. Great. By the way, what do you think General Patton would do as he's listening to Barack Obama say, we are sending tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, 50 people. He's right now spinning in his grave, and so is MacArthur. But Eisenhower was a nice man. I like Ike. That was his slogan. Like mine is, make America great again. True. Make America great again. How good is that? Is that good? Do I hit it? That hit it on the head. You know, I've had guys try and copy. Some of the people running against me use that expression. But I had legal rights to it. Do you believe how good am I at this stuff? So we put them on notice. They weren't allowed to use that. Can you believe? Make America great again. The plane was landing before, and the pilot saying, coming in, coming in. Okay, you're cleared to land. Make America great again. This is from the control tower. And my pilot said, Mr. Trump heard that. I wanted to kiss those people. Make America great again. But Ike's was a little different. I like Ike, because he was a lovable guy. He was a nice guy. But despite being a nice guy, they had a problem with illegal immigrants. No, nothing changes. They had a problem. So they moved out 1.5 million illegal immigrants, right? They moved them out. They were having a tremendous problem with jobs. You know, jobs is a big thing. They're taking jobs from people that want them. We have 100 million people. A lot of those people want to work. This 5.2% unemployment is nonsense. That was written and designed for politicians so they look good. We probably have 25% unemployment, okay, if you look at it, the real numbers. Or I wouldn't be getting the crowds I'm getting, or I wouldn't be getting the responses or the polling numbers. We probably have 25% unemployment. So I like Ike. So Ike sent a smart task force, and they moved a lot of people. And they took them, and they moved them right across the border, and they came immediately back. And then they moved them again, and they came back. They say, this isn't working. They keep coming back. Then they moved them all the way south, and they never came back, you know. Now it's rough stuff. Today it's harder to do things like that. But they didn't even think about it. They said, no, they're here illegally. See, those days, they are here illegally. Illegally! Not legally, illegally. Everyone says to me, Bill O'Reilly the other night, he's a great guy, but he said to me, had a little argument with me. He said, the court system will take you a long time. I said, you don't understand, Bill, they're here illegally. No, but the courts. So, if somebody walks over the line, they bring them immediately back, right? Now, in our case, we don't, but you could. They walk over the line, you bring them back. Okay. So they bring them right back. So they walk over the line a year ago, you bring them back. There's no difference. If it was 3 years ago, they're here illegally. They're here illegally. And everybody said on the anchor baby, I was wrong. They said, if you have a baby here, and I discussed it. And then I turned out to be right. This is the same thing. The anchor baby, you can't have a baby here if you're here illegally, have a baby. Now, you're going to have some court cases. But believe me, I win. If I'm president, I guarantee I win. I win on the anchor baby. And I win on this too. Because no, I don't want to go through a court system every time you want to bring an illegal person out. I don't want to go. I know more about courts than any human being on earth. Okay? And I don't want to go through a court system with the lawyers and the problem. But they're here illegally. We're bringing them out. That's all. That's all. Now, let me tell you what happened with Eisenhower. Because it gets mixed reviews. Now they say, oh, it was very harsh. And I'm sure it was in some cases. But let me tell you. When they started, and this was serious. This wasn't like we're playing games like today where everything's so politically correct. You know, everyone, oh, gee, well, we can't do that. Let's not. This was serious stuff. They moved them. And by the way, Harry Truman moved, they say, millions of people out. Millions. Harry Truman, before Ike. Moved millions of people. Nobody talks about this. They say what a bad guy I am, how it doesn't work. It does work. It does work. And I want him to come back, by the way, just so you know. I want to make it clear. I want him to come back, but I want him to come back legally. And if we need workers for the grapes, and I'll say this, Because a lot of people say the grapes are grapes, and I don't think any of you guys are going to be picking grapes, okay? I really don't think so. I want to be picking the pockets of Wall Street, but not grapes. But if we need some people, we can bring people in on work visas. We can bring them in, but they have to go out. Bring them in. If you need them for the farms, if you need them badly, you bring them in, you got to go out. They got to be here legally. They got to be here legally. So here's what happened in the case of Eisenhower. They moved people, and they moved them out. You know what happened with the people that didn't get caught or whatever? You know what happened? They moved themselves. They moved themselves. They said, oh, wait, they're going to come to us next week. They're going to come to us in a month. They all moved back. Millions of people left. Millions of illegals left. They left of their own volition. Not that stupid Romney stuff with self-deportation. I mean, how? They're going to self-deport. Oh, yeah, right. Then you wonder why he lost, right, folks? But this is something where many of them, once the system started, and once they saw there was no games, they moved them out. Now, today we have things like E-Verify, where the employer will say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I use now E-Verify in most of my jobs. I have thousands and thousands of employees. I've hired tens of thousands of employees, many Hispanic over the years, many. They're fantastic. Many from Mexico. Today, many employees from Mexico. They're great. But I have, and I think to me it's very important, E-Verify. So now I find out, are they legal or not? Now, if they can't get a job, they're moving out. They're going to move out. Nobody has to, you don't need soldiers. They're going to move out. It's so simple. But a politician doesn't know this. A politician doesn't know it. They're all talk. They're no action. All they know how to do is get reelected. That's all they know how to do. So, when you see the remembrance, folks, and when you see all the problems, we're not going to have that kind of problem. We're going to have a lot of winning. We're going to be doing a lot of winning. I'm telling you. We're going to win everything we start. We're going to win. Because I win my whole life. That's why it always bothers me. They say, well, Trump's had a great time. And he's done really well. But he doesn't really want to be president. Do you think he really wants to be president? No. I'm doing this for my health. Okay? I came to Texas at 12 o'clock in the afternoon because I want to do this. I want the end result. Somebody said, well, why are you doing it? And I said, because I honestly believe that the American dream is dead. But I'm going to make it bigger and better and stronger than ever before. I really believe that. I really believe it. I really believe it. So if you look at Rubio, he was a member of the gang in Bait, and Rubio wants amnesty. Give everybody amnesty. These, just so you understand, these are lightweights. These are not people that can take us to the promised land. These are not people. They're nice people. I like them very much. I stood with them the other day. Excellent person. You know, who cares? But he was a member of the Gang of Eight. The Gang of Eight, you know what that was? That was a group that just wanted people to flow in. Okay? Member of the Gang of Eight. And when his poll numbers went down, he all of a sudden became an unmember of the Gang of Eight. It's not what we need. So Rubio is weak on illegal immigration, weak on the amnesty, wants everybody to have amnesty. Can't do it. Carson, very weak on immigration. Very weak, wants everybody to have path. He wants worse. He wants a path to citizenship for people that came into the country. Think of it. They come in illegally, now they become citizens. One of the problems with that is we have right now millions of people wanting to come into the country, and they've done it through legal channels. They've done it right through legal channels. And we've got to be fair to those people also. So, just in a nutshell on immigration, because I know how important it is for Texas, we're going to have a wall. It's going to be a great wall. It's not going to be a wall that people can walk over, climb up. This is going to be a serious wall. And it's going to be built at the right cause. Mexico is going to pay for the wall, believe me. No, they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it. We're going to get the bad ones out really fast. I mean, so fast. And the rest, it's going to have to happen And everyone's going to be happy in the end. People are going to be happy. We're going to have jobs. We're going to do a great job. We're going to be fair. And we're going to do it with a very, very big heart. It's going to be done humanely. Remember that. It's going to be done humanely. So just to finish off, I wanted to really harp on that a little bit, the immigration, because it's so important and such a big factor. And it's become such a big factor in the race. I'm proud of it. But we are going to negotiate great deals. I mentioned Carl Icahn before. I'm going to use the smartest. We have the smartest people. We have the best people. We have the best minds. We have the best business minds. We don't use them. We use political hacks. We use people that put money into a super PAC, and they end up getting jobs because they gave a couple of bucks to a super PAC. And the super PACs, by the way, I don't have super PACs. I said I don't want any super. Super PACs are controlling your senators. They're controlling every candidate. They'll only do what's right for those people that gave them money. The donors, the special interest, those are the only people, believe me, they control the politicians. Nobody's given me any money other than the small donors where, frankly, if people send in $25 and $50, I have to take the money because it's not that it's a lot of money. If you send that money back, it's so and so. How do you send it back? We don't want your money. So I take small donations, small, and I say, that's fine, because that's like an investment in the country. But it's peanuts. So I don't take any money. I'm putting my own money. I'm funding my own campaign. I'm spending a fortune. And I am spending, but so far I haven't spent that much. So far, listen to this one. This is a stat that some people like and some people say maybe it doesn't sound good, but I like it. The business people will like it. So far, I've spent less money than anybody else, and I've had the best result of anybody else, right? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Less money and the best result. And that's what I like. And wouldn't it be nice if we could do that with a country? We spent less money, and we have in education. We spend more money than any other country by double and triple per pupil. And yet we're rated number 28 in the world. We have nations that you wouldn't believe ahead of us. We have nations that you wouldn't believe. So we're going to win on trade. We're going to take our jobs back. We're going to bring jobs into the country. We're going to beat China. We're going to beat Japan. We're going to do great with Mexico. We're going to do wonderfully with that horrible Iran pact. I love to renegotiate deals, okay? But we're going to take that horrible deal, the worst deal I've ever seen negotiated. We're going to end Obamacare. We're going to terminate it. We're going to terminate it. We're terminating Obamacare. We're going to replace it with something that's far better, far less expensive for you and for the country. We're going to replace it with something that's really good. And the insurance companies will not like me because right now they are making a fortune. And your rates your premiums are doubling and tripling. They're doubling and tripling. They're going up 45, 55, 60%. Nobody knows what's happening. The insurance companies, they backed Obama. They're making a fortune. I couldn't care less about the insurance companies, okay? Couldn't care less. So we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. I sometimes joke. I say, you're going to win so much, you're going to get sick of winning. But the truth is, we never get sick of winning. We never get sick of winning. We're going to win so much. You're going to be so proud of this country. You're going to be so proud of your president. And I love you all. Make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.